Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ET Considers Everything Sports Show for Sunday, December 30th, 2018. On this edition, we'll be taking a look back at the Grand Home Furnishings Classic final day as I take a look back at the scores of all 6 games that took place yesterday at the David J. Pryor Convocation Center. I'll give you a look back at the UVa-Wise women's basketball team matchup as they took on King University last night after all 6 games of the Grand Home Furnishings Classic in women's Division II basketball action for NCAA. I'll also be taking a look back at the 3 New Year's Six Bowls games that took place yesterday, including the 2 college football playoff semifinal games. So without further ado, let's take a look back at what all took place yesterday in the Grand Home Furnishings Classic. In the 11th place matchup, Ridgeview defeated Rye Cove by a final score of 58-51. In the 9th place game, you had Virginia High defeat Lebanon 59-40. In the 7th place game, you had Berea, Kentucky defeat Northwood, and quite frankly, what I thought was the best game of the day, 64-63. In the 5th place game, Chilhowie defeated Honaker by a final score 76-62. In the 3rd place game, Virginia High defeated, J.I. Burton defeated Richlands by a final score of 50-49. And in the championship game of the Grand Home Furnishings Classic, in a matchup of Wise County teams, Eastside defeated Wise Central by a final score of 65-54. There was a lot of great matchups yesterday at the Grand Home Furnishings Classic. I decided to go to the final day yesterday because it was the best day. You got to see all 12 teams in action, and it was great to see all of these high school kids compete at a high level and get ready for conference play with this wonderful tournament that has been taking place on the campus of UVa-Wise for, I believe, the last 4 years. So it's going to be very fun to see how all these teams react to playing in this tournament and how they will do moving forward as they enter their respective conference plays here as the new year approaches in 2019. Had a blast with the tournament yesterday. It was good to see my alma mater in a lot of ways. I graduated from Pound High School in 2009, but I root for the Central Warriors now because Pound and Wise combined, so I root for Central. And it was a very good ball game throughout the game yesterday. Eastside pulled away late, but it was a very good ball game, and I expect both Eastside and Central to be very good in their respective districts and conferences this year. If I had to guess, I would say Eastside will go on to win the Cumberland District. And if I'm projecting where Central will finish in the Mountain 7 District, I would say that they would have a good shot to finish 2nd or 3rd. I would say more than likely 3rd behind Gate City and probably Union. But we'll have to wait and see how the season progresses. But it was a great performance by the Eastside Spartans in this tournament. Really a great performance by the Central Warriors as well. They played 4 games in 4 days. They won their first 3 games to advance to the championship game and ended up coming just a little bit short against Eastside in the championship game. But a wonderful showcase performance and a wonderful tournament once again for the Grand Home Furnishings Classic. A big thank you goes out to Chris Davis, Nick Marshall, and the entire staff of the David J. Pryor Convocation Center for making this tournament possible. Without those men and these individuals, this tournament would not have been possible. And without the wonderful sponsors, we wouldn't have had everything that we had yesterday, not only with the tournament and the basketball games and the trophies that were handed out at the end of the tournament for the all-tournament team and the championship winner and the runner-up, but for the entire hospitality room as well. It was a great day yesterday, and I'm very thankful that I got to be there to enjoy all of these wonderful high school basketball games. Moving on into the college basketball realms, last night the UVa-Wise women's basketball team were back at home as they took on the King University Tornado, and this was a very good ball game throughout the night as well. UVa-Wise and King would trade lead changes throughout the night. There were a total of 10 lead changes and 5 ties in the contest. King would ultimately pull away in the fourth quarter as they would go on to defeat the University of Virginia's College at Wise by a final score of 62-54. UVa-Wise would miss their last 10 buckets in the contest, and that would prove costly as they were down only by one entering the last 5 minutes of play last night, and ultimately they would go down by 8 points, losing to King 62-54. A great night of women's college basketball action as well, and it was fun to see how our team would react to playing King once again after playing them earlier on in the season. King defeated them by, I believe it was 18 points back in November, and then they played very well last night to only lose by 8, but it could have been a different outcome if they hit some of their shots there at the end of the game. But a solid season and a solid start so far for the UVA-Wise women's basketball team so far. They are 5-6, I believe 3-2 in the Mountain East Conference. They will move on into Mountain East Conference play after they play LMU on January the 7th, and they will have Mountain East Conference play throughout the rest of the regular season after that date with LMU on the 7th. So it's going to be fun to see how they continue to play in the Mountain East in their final season in the Mountain East before they move to the South Atlantic Conference next season and start playing teams like LMU, who they play in the next week or so, and then play teams like Carson Newman and Tusculum and teams like that. It'll be very fun to keep up with as well. Great night of women's college basketball action as well in the Pryor Center. UVA-Wise just comes up a little bit short last night in that contest. In the college football playoff yesterday, you had two semifinal matchups. You had number 3 Notre Dame, who came into the game undefeated at 12-0, versus number 2 Clemson, who entered the game at 13-0 and the ACC champion. Clemson defeated Notre Dame by a final score of 30-3 in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic at AT&T Stadium. Great performance by Clemson and their defense. Their offense played very solid as well, but the defense showed up more, holding Notre Dame to, I believe, under 250 yards of total offense and stymieing their attack throughout the game. In the second college football playoff semifinal, this one was a little bit of a closer matchup. Number 4 Oklahoma, 12-1, and the Big 12 champion, took on number 1 Alabama, 13-0, and the SEC champion. Number 1 Alabama defeated number 4 Oklahoma by a final score of 45-34. This game was a blowout early on. Alabama would get up 28-0 early. Oklahoma would cut the lead to 11 to make it 28-17, but Alabama would hang on to get the victory 45-34. And for the third time in 4 years, we will have number 2 Clemson taking on number 1 Alabama in the AT&T National Championship game at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. That game will take place on Monday, January the 7th. That game will be at 8 p.m. I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. Should be fun to see how these two teams will play with one another once again. As I mentioned, third time playing in the national championship. They have actually played 4 straight seasons within the college football playoff realm, and Alabama currently leads the series between the two schools in the college football playoff 2-1. In the other New Year's Six Bowl matchup that took place yesterday, number 10 Florida took on number 7 Michigan, and number 10 Florida routed number 7 Michigan yesterday in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia, by a final score of 41-15. Felipe Franks had over 200 yards passing with 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, and the defense had, I believe, 4 takeaways, so they were very impressive in their game. Michigan at one point led the contest 10-6, but Florida would outscore them 21-3 over the second and third quarters to stretch their lead to 27-13, and they would continue to hang on for the victory by a final score of 41-15. A very impressive performance by the Florida Gators, and one really that a lot of people did not see coming. They figured that Michigan would be the team to beat in that matchup yesterday, but Florida was hungry to pick up a victory for their new head coach, Dan Mullen. And in his first season, Dan Mullen led Florida to a 10-win season and a Peach Bowl victory. A lot of big things to come for the Florida Gators coming up next season. They have a very good recruiting class coming in, a top 25 recruiting class. And it's going to be fun to see how all of these SEC teams do with their top recruiting classes once again. It's going to be a very interesting New Year's Six matchups to continue on. Coming up on Monday, we have the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and it's going to be fun to see how those games come out as well. And we'll see as time progresses how these matchups go. But in my humble view, last night, Clemson and Alabama proved why they are the teams to beat in the college football playoff era. And until you take them to the mountaintop, nobody will be able to defeat them, in my view. Now, I know Clemson hasn't had the stronger schedule as they've had in years past. Neither has Alabama, quite frankly. I know a lot of SEC fans will continue to contend that Alabama has played a lot of strong teams within the conference, and yes, they have. But their non-conference schedule is not impressive. And I'm sorry, that's just the facts and the way I look at it. Clemson had a very impressive year as well, going undefeated. Alabama has gone undefeated to this point, so this matchup will be a lot of fun in Santa Clara next Monday. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this edition of the ET Considers Everything Sports Show for Sunday, December 30th, 2018. This is a year-end edition of the ET Considers Everything Sports Show. If y'all don't mind, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as always, we'll keep you posted on everything sports related and wrestling related on our YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at BubbaTy1. And you can give me a friend request on Facebook. My name is Eric Tyler Mullins. Capital E, capital T, and capital N. Hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see y'all down the road. Later, everybody. Thank you for watching.